All right. Here we go, guys and gals. And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, drivers.
Good evening.
It's not afternoon.
I was going to say afternoon. Whatever this time is. People of the world, welcome back to the Loose Wheel Show, Season 2, Episode 38, I believe. If I updated the Google Sheet, I think I did.
Yeah. Well, how are you this evening, Andrew?
Fine. Could be better.
I'm great. I just got back from Chase Field. Giants Diamondbacks. Giants won 11-0. Absolutely beautiful. I'm in the mood for a great podcast. Great radio show. Live radio show. Andrew, I don't know about you.
I'm more of I'm in need for a great radio show.
Okay.
We're not going to talk about the Diamondbacks. This is not a baseball podcast. Let's get into the reviews.
And now for last week's race reviews.
It was Bristol, baby, and it was boring. Going to use a lot of the words that start with B, I guess, for Bristol, because it was
boring. Bristol.
It was not very good. I'm trying to think who won the truck race. Lane Riggs won the truck race again, second of his career. So, solid. And then Xfinity, Dale Jr. unfortunately did not win. He finished like 7th. I'm trying to remember who won Xfinity. I did not watch Xfinity, so that's probably why I don't remember. Fun times. Looking at my good friend Google, Cole Custer won Xfinity. There you go. Bristol, it was not very good. Bowman led from pole, and then Larson, he led the rest of the race. For playoff driver implications, that was the only other storyline throughout the race. Stage points, you had Larson leading stage 1, followed by Bowman, Bell, Truex, Byron, Hamlin, Briscoe, Gibbs, Elliott, and then Wallace. He finished 10th, but he was not a playoff driver. After that, Gibbs was speeding on pit road. Bell got locked in after stage 1. Harrison Burton lost power steering. That took him out of contention. Unfortunate for him, but that was expected. Logano had to crash out after contact from others, but he already won Atlanta, so he was good. Reddick, he stayed out where everyone else pits because there was 2 laps to the end of stage 2, and that strategy kind of worked out for him. He got 4th in the stage where he wouldn't have had stage points if he pitted with everyone else. But the order was Larson, Truex, Hamlin, Reddick, Bell, followed by the outside the bubble playoff driver Bubba Wallace, followed by Bowman, Briscoe, Blaney, and Elliott. At this point, Bowman advanced. Corey LaJoie in his final race for the 7, we're going to talk about that more later. He crashed out. Corey LaJoie moment. And under the ensuing yellow, Truex sped. That took him out of contention for the race, which was unfortunate. And then Larson won. You had Gibbs, Truex, who had speeding penalties. They couldn't recover from, and Keselowski and Burton were eliminated. 4 out of 10 race. The main talking point is the tires they brought. Last year, it was a similar tire, at least same tire. And what did they do? They didn't wear it all. Spring race, they brought in the same tire, and then it wore like crazy. And then this race, it didn't wear it all. So Goodyear doesn't know what they're doing, or that they know what they're doing and they're lying about what the tire they bring. I don't know why they would do it. It would make them look bad, but the fact that they don't know what they're doing with the tire, why it wore excessively with that one race, is kind of concerning. Like, in a group chat with some other friends who hopefully are listening to the show, Ethan and I were talking about which tires were the best tires. to drive in real life. I did not say Goodyear because of that reason. Is they can't make a tire that makes sense in NASCAR. I wouldn't trust them when they're on the road product.
Wow.
Just because of what I've seen in NASCAR.
Harsh.
And they don't have the greatest reputation anyway. So yeah, Goodyear got to figure it out. NASCAR's got to figure something out with the package. The package didn't deliver. It hasn't delivered on the short tracks, really, except for that Bristol race where the tires just wore like crazy. I want to see more horsepower. They hadn't.
Yeah, we've talked
about this.
Want to see more go.
More horsepower. Last week, Watkins Glen, we're supposed to have a tire that wears. No, they didn't. I want to see more horsepower. You go back to the days of the Gen 6 car, rather, the last years of that, where it was a more high horsepower, or more horsepower than what we have. And where did it run well? The short tracks and road courses, and the intermediate package was no good. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. Now it's kind of flip-flopped. So whatever you want to deduct from that, you can. I don't know what's better to have. If you're doing a one-size-fits-all, I don't know what's better. But at this point, you can't have a one-size-fits-all at this point. That's all I have to say about that. Moving on to Indianapolis quickly, you had the tire. I don't even know what it's called. The Tire Rack 6 hours at Indianapolis. It rained for a little bit, so that made it interesting. But your winners were the 24 BMW Team RLL with Philip Eng, Jesse Krohn. First time with the BMW crossed the line first and won. The other time they won, it was by the leader got disqualified, the winner got disqualified. And BMW RL 1-0, Ethan, in the post FBI RL raid, which we'll talk about later in the news. Things happened. Other things.
Yeah, I got involved. The feds.
The rest of the field, your winners were 11 TDS Racing, Mikkel Jensen, Hunter McElroy, Stephen Thomas, 77 AO Racing with Michael Christensen and Lauren Heinrich, and finally the 120 Wright Motorsports with Adam Adelson, Jan Halen, Elliott Skier. One other note from the IMSA race is in GTD, Philip Ellis and Russell Ward have to start the race to win the championship in that series. They've been dominant all year.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Singapore?
Let's do it. It wasn't just Bristol that was boring this weekend. Singapore was not very interesting at all, but we'll still talk about it. Starting on pole was Lando Norris, and he was able to hold everyone off into turn one this time around. Or I will say, I'm going to do more of a traditional review. Last time, tried to get creative. We're going to go back to the drawing board with that, so for now, we're just doing traditional reviews. But like I said, Lando Norris held everyone off into turn one, and Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, and Alex Albon, they were pushed off track, as sometimes happens in Singapore. Tight turn one, stuff happens there. Franco Colapinto, he had a really nice dive bomb. He gained 4 places on that opening lap. His teammate Alex Albon was not all too happy with that, but I didn't see an issue with it. I'm sure the Williams team was holding their breath there, hoping everything was fine, but it was fine. He got the move done. It stuck. Gained 4 positions on that opening lap. An amazing opening lap for a guy in his 3rd Formula 1 race. Oscar Piastri also on that opening lap got pinched by George Russell into turn 1, so he lost the position to Nico Hülkenberg, but he was able to gain back 5th place with a nice move down the inside into turn 7. Now, nothing happened for the next 14 laps. On lap 15, Alex Albon retired due to his engine overheating. On lap 29, Lando Norris had created an over 20-second gap to Max Verstappen in second. But he almost ruined his race. He locked up the tires, and at Singapore, there's no runoff in large portions of the track, so he almost hit the wall, ended up barely brushing it, but still not a great sign. 2 laps later, Lando pit And Max had pit a few laps earlier, but like I said, Lando was over 20 seconds ahead. The undercut wasn't going to work there. Undercut's not powerful enough to gain Max 20 seconds. On lap 39, Oscar Piastri came into the pits. He was running in third, but he was the last of the drivers to make a stop, so he came out back in fifth behind Russell and Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton had started the race on softs, which ruined his race essentially. It was just the totally wrong strategy to be on softs at the start of the race. So that allowed George Russell to be kind of the lead Mercedes in that race, even though Lewis had the better qualifying. Just the wrong choice to put him on softs. Russell got ahead because it was the wrong choice, and that's the way it worked out between those Mercedes guys. So, lap later, on lap 40, Oscar Piastri made a really daring move, Andrew, around the outside of Lewis Hamilton into that turn 7 in Singapore. Same spot he made the move on Hülkenberg all those laps ago, but this time on the outside. Lower down in the field, some low point scoring positions, Fernando Alonso and Charles Leclerc were fighting for 7th. Leclerc finally got a move done right before turn 14. Ferrari's qualifying 9th and 10th just absolutely ruined their chances at a really good weekend here. On lap 45, once again around the outside of 7, Oscar Piastri made a move, this time on George Russell for 3rd. And also on lap 45, Norris's right rear clipped a little bit of a wall on, I don't remember what corner, but he just clipped a wall. A lot of people were making a big deal out of that incident. The first incident, locking up, almost ruining his entire race. Yeah, that was pretty bad, but this one, lots of drivers were brushing up against the wall. That's just the nature of the beast. That's Singapore. It's a tight track. Your tire's going to hit the wall, so I don't think that it deserves to be made into a big deal. We saw it because he was leading the race. George Russell hit the wall. Other drivers were hitting the wall. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, hitting the wall is just a product of street course racing, no matter what series, no matter what street course, pretty much.
Exactly. So, 5 laps after that, lap 50, Leclerc got past Sainz. I believe it was team orders. It might have been a legit move. I honestly don't remember. But he was then able to get past Hamilton down the inside of turn 7. Lewis didn't look like he was fighting the move too much, which kind of shocked me because it was for position at the end of a race. 10 laps after that, lap 60, K-Mag retired due to a puncture. There was just 2 laps to go in the race. There wasn't really any point in continuing on, so K-Mag retired. And then finally, lap 62, Lando Norris came across the line to win from pole. He led every lap, but it was not a grand slam, Andrew, as Daniel Ricciardo stole the fastest lap on the last lap of the race in what is looking to be the last lap of his F1 career. Possibly. Looks that way, though. And, Andrew, I want to ask you this. Do you think that Ricciardo was given the order to go for fastest lap to steal it from Lando and help out Max? Or do you think it was just a, hey, Daniel, this is probably your last race, go do it?
I don't know, to be honest. I didn't watch the race. I didn't watch highlights, so come at me in the comments or wherever you want to come after me.
Yeah. For me,
so
I
don't know.
Yeah.
It could be both. Who knows? We have over a month to the next race, so who knows who will be rocking up in that second RB car.
We kind of know, but we'll get to that later on. I mean, for me, I don't think it was necessarily a order from the big Red Bull team, but this just once again highlights is it really fair that Red Bull owns 2 Formula 1 teams when everyone else owns 1? You said no, I say no, I agree with you there. But anyway, Lando finished 20 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen. It was a dominant win. And then Max finished 20 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri, who was in 3rd, to complete the podium. So none of those guys were close to each other. There wasn't too much action throughout the race. Rest of the top 10 went George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Nico Hülkenberg, and Sergio Perez in 10th, two more drivers that finished outside of the top 10 that I want to mention, though. Franco Colapinto, that move into turn one, like I said, probably scared James Vowles, but he parlayed that into a really nice race, finished just outside the top 10 in 11th. He's been really impressing me. And like Andrew, we said we didn't really expect much from this guy. He's been pretty impressive so far. And then, Andrew, I'm going to allow you to make a couple of guesses here. What record did Lance Stroll tie in the Singapore Grand Prix?
I did see this is most starts in his F1 career without a fastest lap.
Correct. Tying the great Johnny Herbert for 161 races without a fastest lap. Congratulations, Lance Stroll. You are now the co-owner of that record.
Yikes.
Damn. I mean, it's cool, though, naming the record book for the wrong reasons, but...
Like you said, it's the wrong reasons. I wouldn't want my name to be in the record book for the wrong reasons.
What's that saying, like, as long as they spell my name right, I don't care? Something like that?
I've never heard of such words, phrases, whatever.
All right, let's move on.
Into the news.
And now for the news.
2311 Racing announces multi-year extension for Bubba Wallace. So we are going to give the clap, clap, clap to them. I'm not clapping because I would like people to have ears listening to this.
I'm silent clapping.
Yeah, he is. Good for all team people involved.
Yeah.
He was not going to be going anywhere.
No.
Michael Jordan likes him too much, to be honest. So, yeah.
I
People
mean,
on Facebook can keep complaining.
That
That's
was
not
a
going to change anything.
fine driver.
Yeah.
Like, he deserves a spot in NASCAR. Team likes him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not? Extend the guy.
Yeah. Rick Ware Racing Inspire agreed to a trade. A trade in NASCAR. The first time in a long time that this has happened. They're trading Corey LaJoie for Justin Haley.
Crazy.
Where Rick Ware Racing, they're getting Corey LaJoie, Spire getting Justin Haley. Inspire has already signed Justin Haley for 2025. Rick Ware Racing, it's not the same. Just shows the level of competency with one driver versus the other. Justin Haley, lovable underdog, solid driver. He can drive to the top 20, top 15 on occasion. Corey LaJoie, it's happened before, but you barely can say the same.
Yeah, I just don't understand this, to be honest.
It's a win for... I think there might have been cash considerations going to Rick Ware Racing's way, right? That wasn't announced,
that makes a little more sense.
Regardless, Rick Ware Racing, I don't know what they're doing for the future. They don't have Corey LaJoie and Cody Ware as your anchor drivers, brother. That does not sound good. Hopefully they can keep Casgrel around. Casgrel is solid at least. Anyway, that's just all we have to say. Big win for Spire. Big win for Haley. The losers: Rick Ware Racing, Corey LaJoie.
Yeah, interesting, to say the least.
A quick note here: Harrison Burton returning to the Xfinity Series with AM Racing.
Yeah,
kind of as expected that he dropped down to the Xfinity Series AM Racing. They need a retool after this year. They were top 20 speed with Brett Moffitt on a weekly basis, even top 15. They could crack the top 10 on occasion. And this year, started the year off with Haley Deegan. It wasn't very good. No. And then they released her, and then a multitude of drivers who have came in haven't done much for the team. The team has cut back in spending this year.
And I mean, look, like Harrison Burton, he's had 3 years in the Cup Series full time now with Wood Brothers, and he just hasn't done anything. 2 top 3s, one of them was, of course, the win in Daytona earlier this year, but he was pretty much the worst full-time driver in the Cup Series this year. The only reason he was in the playoffs is because of that win, which I think the fact that one of your playoff drivers is going back down to AAA essentially says a lot about the playoff system. But that's a whole another conversation for a different day. But yeah, Harrison Burton, he's
not good.
He's not. I was gonna formulate the words a little more. I was gonna say something along the lines. He's not really cut out for the Cup Series, but you could just go ahead and say he's not good. I mean, harsh, but you're not wrong, Andrew.
I do think he was called up to the Cup Series a year early. That might have messed with his development. But anyway, next piece of news going to IndyCar. I am not a fan of this move.
Yeah, this segment is called Andrew is Angry.
Yeah, I put in the document, Angry Andrew warning in all caps, and I will try to not say anything that I shouldn't be saying on the air.
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, I'd like to keep my job. I'm not getting paid, though. IndyCar Charter Program launches after final team owners sign, starting in 2025. The details, Ethan. Penske Entertainment retains permanent ownership of the 25 charters that were distributed, with its approval, which also includes in receiving a percentage of any sales. Good for Penske Entertainment there. It also grants guaranteed participation into every IndyCar race for those who, quote-unquote, own the charters, barring the Indianapolis 500, which will still be the fastest 33. Max on 3 charters per team, and then 27 cars will start at every race outside the Indy 500, which may be reduced to 25 later down the road. And finally, the last piece of news here, the Dale Coyne rule, as it is nicknamed, limits a team to maximum 3 drivers per season, for per entry per season. So that Dale Coyne used a multitude of drivers in both their cars this year. There's an injury clause in there too.
This wasn't really angry, Andrew. This was just sad, Andrew.
Well, this is about to be angry Andrew here.
Uh-oh.
I don't like this move as a fan. I don't like this move if you're in some of these team owners' perspective. I don't like this in terms of potential other owners coming in, because I'm going to break it down for you.
Like Prema, they're not getting a charter.
Yeah.
New team
let's take it from the fans' perspective first. Is that we're now putting 27 cars caps, which is something that we weren't doing before, which is annoying. I think what we should be doing is, okay, what's the maximum amount of cars that can run at tracks, not going over 33, because 33 is the number that was always the case before, and I don't feel a need to just say 27. 27 is the max for some tracks, but why can't we just, if we want to, like what happened in Portland this year, Ray Hall brought a 4th car, like having to send either that car or a Prema car home just because, we don't want to have more cars. You kidding me? Are you kidding me? Just because you want to just cap things,
I don't understand.
I don't like it. I don't.
understand
We should not be capping the cars when they can have one.
Why did Roger Penske want this?
Well, the good thing for some of these owners is, and we'll talk about later, is people can buy into these and say, I want to sell. That gives me more money on the leaving end. So that is good for some of these team owners, but Roger Penske, he was the guy who wanted, ever since he took over IndyCar, he wanted to put this onto the teams in 2019. He finally gets it 4 years later. I'm not a fan of this. I know there's a lot of other team owners that aren't either. And I'm just gonna run like what I said. I don't want to cap cars for no reason outside that. If IndyCar wanted to say, okay, let's just cap the cars at this 27 number without the charters, I'd still not like it. I just and then possibly reducing it to 25. Are you kidding me? We can't have 27 cars at every track. Why are we just handicapping ourselves? It doesn't make sense to me. I am not happy.
This is
this is frustrating. It's like more cars generally equal better racing. So that's more cars that can fight, gain positions. But no, IndyCar's like, no. We'll just sit on our hands. The racing will be good regardless. Some of these races have not been great. Ethan Ignatowski. Some of these races have not been great.
Andrew Hazlitt.
Frustrating me.
Yeah.
Just
we talked about or we brushed over is it fair that Red Bull owns 2 teams in Formula 1? Well, one thing that I definitely don't think is fair is that a guy that owns an IndyCar team owns the entire sport.
That's probably not the best look, but that's a story for another day.
I mean, he is inserting what he wants. Like, this is a good move for a team like Penske, I suppose. I mean, why else would he do it, right?
Yeah.
And the teams that it hurts, like, these are teams that it mostly hurts the smaller teams, but still, these are teams that he is going up against, right? So it's a little bit concerning that the guy that, I'm sure he does think that it's for the best interest of the entire sport, but that's with the clouded vision of being a team owner of one of the top teams. He's not looking at it from an unbiased perspective, most likely. So it doesn't appear that way anyway, because of you look at who it helps and who it hurts, right? So that's why I say that I don't really think that that's the best move for the sport. Or it's I mean, it's not great for the sport.
Yeah, I'm gonna
owns a team.
I look at some of these teams. Ganassi, they were at 5 cars, and now they're going down to 3 cars. Again, we're taking out 2 cars on arguably the best team. Granted, some of these Ganassi cars aren't top 10, but they could be. I've seen pace from Armstrong to say maybe he might be a top 10 driver in 2 years' time. Same with Linus Lundqvist. It's like, what are we doing here? It's like, it's like and those are the 2 guys that likely are going to lose their rides over this. So Ganassi, if I'm Ganassi Racing, I wouldn't be signing this charter. And
it's frustrating because there's already so many drivers in so many series that aren't getting the opportunities because there's essentially the motorsports version of a roster crunch.
Yeah.
And IndyCar was a great series where drivers could go because there wasn't anything limiting the drivers or how many drivers there were, and now there is. And that takes away something that's really great about IndyCar, in my opinion.
And then again, if you want to do this I would be fine with getting rid of saying, okay, you can't have 5 cars, Ganassi, if we were at a number, but I don't think we're at that number, quite frankly, of cars that can be on this grid. It's they can fill up the grid, and if you want to implement that rule, fine, but this isn't just another bad thing I don't like. I'm also looking at some of these backmarker teams that are competing for leader circle. There's going to be 3 teams that miss out on this $1 million bonus just because they're not fast enough. It's like, why can't we make this 25 with these charters? Another thing that I have an issue with is Dale Coyne Racing. They survived last year because they had so many drivers with the team. This might force Dale Coyne to say, okay, I'm done. I can't survive anymore. That's another no good thing about this charter system is limiting teams to only run 3 drivers. That's just you shouldn't be handicapping it. I know I'd rather see teams run full-time drivers, but if you can't survive with a full-time driver, you have to run part-time drivers. That's how it works. I like seeing race teams survive. I don't like seeing race teams die, and that's what we see with Dale Coyne Racing here. So that's just frustrating. And then another team, Prema Racing, they're going to be new to the series. If like I said, if Ray Hall brings in the 4th car randomly to something earlier, Prema might be just getting able to race because we can't have a 28th car, or we can't have you charged. Like, so annoying. Even Prema could be there could be a car that qualifies third place, and one of those, and they could go home. Because if you think about it, of all the other 25 cars qualify from 4 to 28, third place cars going home. If you think about that, that's not good.
No.
So that's what frustrates me. And then if you're a team owner looking to get in the series, like Pratt and Miller, or I don't know who else is looking to get in the series anymore, because I don't remember everything, and I'm kind of frustrated. If you're at Pratt and Miller and you want to get into the series, now you have to buy a charter. That's more money you have to have. Makes it harder. Makes it less accessible. Yeah. And maybe these teams aren't looking to sell. And now you have to go up against Prema every week. That's not how you can run a business. It's not sustainable.
Reminds me of
sustainable.
The pre-qualifying era of Formula One in the 80s, like where you had too many teams, and so teams would do a qualifying session before qualifying to see who would go to that qualifying session. That's almost what IndyCar is trying to force, except there isn't too many teams, there isn't too many drivers. They're doing it without a reason to do it.
Yeah. You're right, Ethan. Spot on. This gets the Chicken Award of the week. They could have went about this in a better way, but they took a lot of incorrect steps there, so I'm going to give it a sweet. Sorry for headphone users for all listening on YouTube because Andrew forgot to bring his flash drive. I think Andrew did forget to bring his flash drive so that we can record. I'm doing voice memos this week because I've had a week.
You've had a week.
Yes, Ethan knows I've had a week, and seeing this news did not make things better because I am not. I don't know if you could tell, Ethan. I am not happy.
Sad Andrew, angry Andrew, all the Andrews coming out on the podcast today, on the show today. I gotta stop saying podcast.
However, Ethan, there is
other news.
Some good news from the charter. Food guy, Gilov.
Gilov, okay.
He owns a food thing that I've never heard of before, which has products I've never heard of. But people supposedly heard of this before. I don't know.
Are we sure this isn't a Rich Energy situation?
This isn't a Rich Energy.
This guy's legit?
This guy's legit. He's buying a stake into Ed Carpenter Racing, which is because of the charter. Charter, as much as I don't like the charter is able to buy... You're able to get minority owners into the teams. So maybe that can help Ed Carpenter Racing become relevant again. I don't know. We'll see, because they're arguably the fifth best Chevy team right now.
Oh, he's the dude that owns Splenda. Okay.
I've never heard of them.
You've never heard of Splenda?
No. What do they do?
It's like coffee.
I don't drink coffee.
Stuff. I mean, neither do I, but you know.
I've heard of Latifi's. I think it might be Latifi's family's company, Lavazza. Mm-hmm. They do coffee. I knew that. But yeah, yeah.
Okay, maybe, so Splenda guy is getting into IndyCar. Cool.
Yeah, so big money in there.
Yeah.
Also, Ed Carpenter Racing, Renus VK was told bye-bye by Ed Carpenter Racing.
Unfortunate. Ends a long partnership between those two. Yeah,
Renus VK has been a solid driver. I think someone should pick him up. He brought Ed Carpenter Racing a win, which is saying something. It's like bringing like any team outside the top 4 a win in Formula One, basically. So that kind of puts it in perspective for you.
Huge Esteban Ocon Alpine win.
Well, now, not that was a few years ago. Or it's basically the Big Four and everyone else. At least
outside of the Big Four then.
Oh, it was more clear cut. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a more clear-cut Big Four then. Anyway, regardless of that, that's not why we're here to talk about. VK should be picked up by someone. Solid driver. He brought those cars from 12th to 14th in his 5 years. He had 2 12ths, a 13th, and a 14th. So he's a solid guy. He can get top 10s.
We were talking about this earlier. I think he has some high-end potential somewhere in there.
And the rumor is that Rossi will be joining at Comforter Racing. Expect that.
He deserves a better seat than that.
Yeah, he does. We'll see.
Hopefully he's not stuck there for too long.
Yeah. If I'm Alexander Rossi, I'm regretting not taking that McLaren deal for a year. You just so you can say, yeah, I'm still good. You should sign me with a multi-year deal.
Andrew, though, I have to ask you, what's this I hear about FBI agents carrying out an operation at the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan headquarters?
So yeah, everything. I think it was last week. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. I just see this hell. I'm like, what in the world is happening over at RLL? And yeah, they were working, and the FBI agents came and everyone was told to go home. Apparently, an employee at Ray Hall who worked at Andretti took data that he shouldn't have taken over. So we'll see if anything happens from that. Kind of like a Spygate 2.0 maybe, but we'll see.
RLL is cooperating with the investigation.
Yeah, RLL not... I hope it wasn't any oval program data that RLL took over, because RLL, they are not good at the ovals. And I remember about in 2020 time, it was the opposite. They were good in the ovals. So I don't know what's happened there, but yeah, they are not very good.
The FBI also paid a little visit to the Andretti team shop, and Rob Edwards, the COO of Andretti, when reached out to by Racer.com, he had no comment on whether that visit was potentially linked to the FBI RLL situation. But
yeah,
you listeners are smart, so.
Mm-hmm. Likely the case that they're linked. Moving down the list, we have Marcus Armstrong joins Meyer Shank Racing. Meyer Shank, as I've mentioned on the podcast before, now in alliance with Ganassi. Ganassi has 4 drivers under contract. Well, I think all 5 drivers under contract for next year, and they have 3 seats, and now they're loaning Marcus over to Shank.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how that partnership goes. Could be solid. I don't think anything. I think he'll run second fiddle to Rosenquist, probably, because I don't think Marcus Armstrong's the best driver in the world. Linus Lundqvist, I would pick Linus Lundqvist over him, because Lundqvist has shown more potential than Marcus has, but we'll see. Linus Lundqvist hopefully gets a seat because he deserves it.
Yeah.
And then finally, on the news for IndyCar is possibly Dallas might get a street course.
Yay,
Michael
more
Irvin
street circuits.
was talking in a video where he mentioned, there's going to be a race in Dallas area. Texas Motor Speedway, that's kind of in Fort Worth, way out there. So it's not. So it would be. There's nothing else in Dallas. So it'd probably be a street circuit. So that YouTube video has since been deleted, or an edited part out. So we'll see if anything does come from that. But when you have Texas Motor Speedway, which produced a solid IndyCar race the last time they were there, would not be my first. I'd rather not have them go to Texas or Dallas when you have Texas right there. And IndyCar needs more big ovals.
Mm-hmm.
Go on to the F1 news, Ethan.
All right, so we'll start this off with, definitely not your traditional F1 story. This is a little bit of a saga, so bear with me. The FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayem, said that Formula One drivers need to stop swearing. Now, here's the thing. Formula One drivers, their broadcast messages are chosen to be put out as part of Formula One's production. They choose to include messages where drivers swear. They could very simply just not do that. But instead, FIA is telling Formula One drivers, nope, can't swear at all. And Ben Solomon had some rather interesting ways of describing it. He said that they're Formula One drivers, not rappers, which drivers took exception to. Lewis Hamilton took exception to that. There's, sort of just, I guess, I don't know. It's not a good look for Mohammed Ben Solomon. Lewis Hamilton was saying that it sounded a little racist.
Very unprofessional.
Very unprofessional, to say the least, yes.
And this is coming from a guy who squeezes a dog toy every episode on his show. So...
yeah. So, what took it up a level is that in the Thursday Singapore press conferences, before the weekend officially really gets underway, Max Verstappen explained from his perspective why he thought it was a not smart decision. Mm-hmm. And he used the F word pretty liberally during that press conference. And then he was hit with a penalty. And as part of that penalty, he, quote, has an obligation to accomplish some work of public interest. So they basically said, hey, Max, you were using the F word during your press conference. Now you have to do community service. And Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, whole host of F1 drivers kind of stood up for Max in that moment. The president of the Grand Prix Drivers Association had a pretty funny quote about it. He said, how many lifetime community services would Gunther Steiner have to serve for using the F word? So he, of course, was, not president, chairman, Alex Wurs said that. He had some thoughts on it. He was backing up his members of the GPDA, Grand Prix Drivers Association. So everyone seems to be standing up to the FIA against this, and I think that's really good. I think the drivers putting up a unified front is really the only way that something is going to get done about that, because it's just, if the FIA and F1 don't want to broadcast drivers swearing, then don't broadcast drivers swearing. But you got adrenaline running in the car, all this stuff, like, you're going to probably be swearing in that moment to your team. It just doesn't need to be broadcasted. Simple solution there. But anyway, onto some more Formula One.
My 2 cents.
Yeah, let's hear it.
You need to replace Mohammed Ben, I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Mohammed Ben Solomon.
And Stefano Domenicali. We could do a better job. I'm convinced.
Hey, if the FIA is hiring, check out my LinkedIn.
And my LinkedIn, too. I have more connections than you.
All right, dude. So, on to some more traditional F1 news. We talked after Baku that everyone was up in arms about McLaren's rear wing. The FIA basically was like, we think it's legal. We're investigating, but we think it's legal.
We are checking.
And McLaren was like, yo, guys, our rear wing is legal. Trust us. But since y'all are complaining so much, we'll just revert back to the original spec. Maybe not original spec, but the variation before the controversial rear wing. So that is the rear wing that McLaren ran in Singapore. They did not run the mini DRS rear wing that we talked about after the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
I thought the FIA and F1 banned it.
No.
Oh.
It was within all legal regulations and such.
Okay.
Unless I missed something. But last I heard, the FIA was all like, yeah, I mean, we're looking into it. So McLaren might have thought that the FIA were going to rule that it was illegal, but nothing was actually, as far as I know, said that it was illegal.
Mm-hmm.
McLaren just changed it back, so FIA, I mean, they have nothing to look into anymore. And that's the end to that little mini story. So, if it did affect anything, it's one race. You know, we see this happen at times in Formula One. And this little chapter is just one race long and it's closed. Mm-hmm. So, next bit of news, Valtteri Bottas was heavily rumored to be re-signing with Sauber. But then Valtteri Bottas said to, I believe he was talking to Sky Sports when he said this. He was basically just saying how, no, those are just rumors, nothing has been decided yet. A Sauber spokesperson talked about how contract news should be taken with a pinch of salt. So I still think that it's very likely that Valtteri Bottas is going to be that guy in Sauber, but if you saw any rumors saying that Valtteri Bottas was going to be headed back to Sauber, deal not quite done just yet. And then finally, last little bit of, well, second to last bit of Formula One news. The Red Bull head of strategy, Will Courtenay, not sure exactly how to say it. It's Courtney, but with some extra letters put in there to make it look confusing. He was the head of strategy at Red Bull. He is still under contract by Red Bull until 2026. But he, not sure if it's now or later, but he is leaving Red Bull to go to rivals McLaren, where he will be the, what is his official title? The sporting director. He's going to be the sporting director of McLaren. McLaren have confirmed the move. They haven't announced when he will be starting, but another big component of Red Bull leaving, going to another rival, McLaren in this case, and for McLaren, this is a big get. I mean, the one thing we've talked about McLaren struggling this year is their strategy, and you're bringing in a big-time strategy guy. So whenever he does step foot into McLaren's Woking facility, I mean, that is huge for the team. They are addressing their biggest need. Love that for them. And then, of course, finally, Daniel Ricciardo. He's probably done, it looks like. He was very emotional all throughout the Singapore weekend, as if he knew it was his last race. He was very emotional, tears in his eyes, talking after the race. He has removed Formula One driver from his Instagram, all things like that. All signs are pointing to Liam Lawson taking over Daniel Ricciardo's spot at RB for the remainder of the season. And we'll talk more about it when it gets official, because we are running out of time in this episode, but it does appear like Daniel Ricciardo's days in Formula One are over. And with that, we got just one more news story. Andrew, you'll take it, and then we'll get into the previews.
Oliver Weldon, son of the late Dan Weldon, wins Skip Barber Race Series Championship, which is something cool to see. I hope Oliver and his older brother, who's also winning championships, are successful, because I know their father would have loved to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a little happier news.
And now for next week's race previews.
Kansas is happening this weekend for NASCAR.
Kansas is happening.
Only race this weekend.
Only series racing this weekend.
Only series, yeah. You have a lot of driver changes. 6.
Well, let's talk about who got eliminated.
Well, I did mention that earlier
Okay.
in the reviews. You have Haley in the 7, Grawl in the 15, Ty, the legend, Dylan in the 16, 44, J.J. Yaley, and 51, Corey LaJoy, and in the 84, it is Jimmy the Juggernaut Johnson, unofficial nickname.
Huge.
I always give 5 drivers to watch out for. My 5 this week are 2-time winner Martin Truex.
Not Ryan Truex.
Ryan Truex has won. Ryan Truex has won solid 3 times in his Xfinity career. Denny Hamlin, 4-time winner there. Kyle Larson, 2-time winner there. Joey Logano, 3-time winner there. And I almost said Bubba Reddick. Tyler Reddick, 1-time winner there. You also, on some other people have won at Kansas. Wallace has won once. Kyle Busch twice. Johnson 3 times. Keselowski and Elliott 1 apiece there.
Yep.
So, going over to Xfinity, you have the 10 of Daniel Dye. That'll be a real kick in the nuts if you know, you know. 15, Logan Bearden. That's AM Racing. 10 for his colleague. I did not mention that. Joe Gibbs All-Star Cars. 19, Eric Almirola. 20, Taylor Gray. 26, Corey Heim for Sam Hunt Racing. 35 is Carson Ware for Joey Gase. 92 is Dawson Cram for DGM. 74 is TBA for Mike Harmon Racing. They bought some owner points so they can qualify better. You have the 07 and 14 for SS Greenlight Racing of Patrick Emmerling and JJ Yaley. 45 for Alpha Prime is Brad Perez. 88 is Connor Zillage for Junior Motorsports. In the Truck Series, in the 1 truck, you have Brendan Butterbean Queen for
my goat
for Tricon Garage. They're and the Young's team. You have Nathan Bird and Justin Mondyke. You have Marco Andretti for the 04 team. I forget what they're. Roper Racing. 7 is Connor Mosak for Spire. Jennifer Joe Cobb shows up for her own team in the 10. Frankie Muniz will be in the 22 for Rion Brothers Racing.
Throughout the first pitch at the Diamondbacks game tonight.
25 is Dawson Sutton replacing Ty Dillon. Nice Motorsports having another driver shuffle. 41, Bailey Curry. 45, Cade Honeycutt in their 4th part-time truck. Number 44, Connor Daly. And then the 91 third McNally Hilgeman truck, Corey Day.
Cool.
So, in the pick points.
Yeah, so. And now, for next week's race picks. A little bit of an update here. I am leading pick points 311 to Andrew's 297. What happened the last week? Well, Andrew got a singular point for the 6 Porsche, finishing ahead of my 7. I got a point for the 52 Inter Europool, finishing ahead of Andrew's Heart of Racing. Those two were competing in GTP and LMP2 at IMSA. And then over to GTD. Well, no points there.
Because of the guest pick 1. We do have a guest pick. We just don't mention it because they're so far back.
Yeah. Then going over to regular GTD. Point for both of us. The windward. So, essentially 0 points gained or lost there. I pick up 5 points for Lando Norris, finishing 1st at Singapore. And then it's Oscar Piastri giving me 1 point. He finished 3rd, I believe. I put him finishing 2nd. And then you got 1 point because Lando Norris won when you had him finishing 2nd. In the Truck Series, Corey Heim finished ahead of Christian Eckes, giving you 1 point. In Xfinity, Chandler Smith finished ahead of Justin Allgaier, giving me 1 point. And then Kyle Larson, he didn't just win, he dominated Bristol. You don't get extra points for domination, but 5 points there.
So we got the same amount of points, 9-9.
Yep, so everything's even there. And then
I haven't updated the sheet, but...
You haven't. Okay, so 311 plus 9, and then 297 plus 9. So...
That's 320 to 306.
Cool.
I can do math.
I can't. Anyway, Who do we have for this week? Well, in the truck series, Andrew is taking Corey Heim.
It'll be Heim time.
Yep. I'm taking Christian Eckes.
I do want to tell you about my next pick.
You're taking Sheldon Creed. Tell me about it.
Oh, you spoiled it. Oh.
Well, explain.
I don't know who. I don't have a clue who's going to win Kansas. Okay. So what do I do? Who finishes second every race?
Sheldon
Why?
Creed.
That would be Sheldon Creed. Guaranteed second. Guarantee 1 point.
Okay. That's foolproof, except for the fact that my pick, Justin Allgaier, is going to win it all. And then in the Cup Series, you're taking Kyle Larson for a back-to-back win. I'm taking Denny Hamlin because he absolutely loves it there. So, seems like a pretty easy pick for me. Yeah, that's pretty much all.
Thank you for listening. If you're listening on YouTube, sorry the audio's bad. I forgot something important.
That being said, though, have a good rest of your night, everyone. If you're listening to the replay, have a good rest of your day. And we'll see you next time.
Next up, Breakdown After Dark. But first, we're going to give you some Not Every Cowboy by Dustin Lynch.
To me, it looked like he actually lost the wheel.
The wheel for Ross Chastain is still and perfect.
Wheel on the track.
Did you leave the wheel loose?
You picked the fine time to leave me loose, wheel.